So Sneha, take it.
Thank you, Ketan. So yeah, we've understood what are REITs. A very similar structure is followed by InvITs as well. One primary difference between REITs and InvITs is जो उसके अंदर के एसेट्स हैं, जो रीट्स के एसपीवी के अंदर एसेट्स आते हैं और जो इनविट्स के अंदर आते हैं, वो थोड़ा सा अलग है. इनविट्स के अंदर द एसेट्स दैट फॉर्म द एसपीवी पूल अंडर इनविट्स आर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एसेट्स. These are your roads, your highways, your power transmission lines, your telephone towers. All these form part of infrastructure investments. So hence they are classified under InvITs. So the categories, the characteristics are very similar to that of REITs. It's just the asset classification that is slightly different between REITs and InvITs. But the inception of InvITs is slightly different than what it was for REITs. Now, for REITs, we saw it started on much earlier, and the first REIT was actually listed in 2019. However, for InvITs, it started, the consultation paper had actually come out in 2013, and we saw our first InvIT being listed by 2017. So moving forward, I will also touch upon the depth of this market. So here, I would like to highlight the primary difference between what are REITs and what are InvITs and what's the difference between them. So, like I said, apart from the assets that they hold under the SPVs, there are two major differences between REITs and InvITs. The first one being the cash flows that arise out of InvITs can be fairly irregular and much more riskier as compared to that of REITs. I'll explain how. Imagine you are a part of like you are invested in an InvIT which has say roads, okay, and as an asset class under them. अब ये road से toll collection होगा. Now it is the toll collection becomes the primary cash flow or the revenue generation for the entire InvIT. अगर ये टोल कलेक्शन थोड़ा भी ऊपर नीचे होता है तो आपके कैश फ्लोज थोड़े इरेगुलर हो सकते हैं, बट दैट इज नॉट द केस फॉर REITs per se. There too you have some sort of revenue risk to your REIT asset classes, like Ketan mentioned कि आपके जो rentals होते हैं वो भी थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे हो सकता है, but the lock-in period in rental is generally higher as compared to that for toll. Toll का आपका immediately आपके cash flow पे impact दिखता है कि अगर traffic कम हो गया या अगर say if there is a lockdown like situation, you will see these toll roads coming to a standstill for some time, right? So the toll collection can be hampered by multiple factors, while on the other hand for REITs the cash flows are fairly stable because there is a sort of an agreement or a contractual agreement towards the cash flows there. So that is one difference between REITs and InvITs ke cash flows mein. And the second is in terms of valuations. So now InvITs ka valuation primarily depend on what is your yield expectation. तो जैसे जैसे आपकी market की yield expectation बढ़ती जाएगी, since it is calculated on the discounted cash flow methodology, डिनोमिनेटर में आपका yield आता है. अगर ये yield बड़ी हो गई तो आपका जो वैल्यूएशन है वो और श्रिंक होता जाएगा. सो इट इज मोर इंटरेस्ट रेट सेंसिटिव एज कंपेयर टू REITs. हेंस ये प्राइमरी दो डिफरेंस आते हैं बिटवीन REITs एंड InvITs. Another major difference that I would like to highlight is for InvITs, the terminal value of the asset that the SPV holds can go down to zero at some time. Now, if you are part of Mumbai, you may have recently heard that all the tolls that were for roads that lead to Mumbai, if you want to enter Mumbai or enter Mumbai from anywhere outside of Mumbai, those tolls, like I mean, within the city wale sare tolls nikal diye gaye. No more tolls anymore. Why? So they have recovered the capital, they have made enough income, and now they have made the roads toll free. So now technically the value of that particular InvIT would have gone to zero because it has reached its end life cycle ka end. It is no longer they are generating income, they are no longer collecting any income. So the terminal value for InvITs can go down to zero. That may not be necessarily the case for REITs.
Just to add here, the terminal value, basically what happens is the asset infrastructure is handed over to the government.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.